Alright, today we're going to make a team using Mole, which is one of my favourite units in the game, and Mantis, which I think at one stage it was one of my favourites in Star Pack, but yeah, not so much anymore. So what can we do with these two pets together? Well, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when you think about it, because Mantis is always going to knock out a unit, and therefore you'd have to keep buying a new perk every turn if you wanted the Mole to still function with it. I guess you could also use like Seagull or something to, and maybe Slug, in order to refresh the perk on the summoned unit every time. But I want to do something a bit more interesting. I want to have the Mantis knock out the Mole every single turn. So Mole's ability is to summon another Mole. As long as we have two perks on the team, the Mole will consume them and then bring itself back. So in theory, if you get the correct setup, you'll never run out of pets for the Mantis to faint. And you won't have to keep buying new pets either. So there are a few different options we've got in order to try and make sure that we always have enough perks that the Mole will be resummoned. And obviously you can just buy them. You could just fill your pack full of perks and buy 2 new ones every turn. We're not going to do that though. I'm going to try and use some pet abilities. And we're also going to play the Spider Crab as well. So we don't need level 2 Spider Crab, which is why I ignored the one in the shop there. What I want to happen is for the Mantis to be at the front, and then after its first attack, it gets moved to the back, so that it can still contribute perks for the Mole to resummon in battle. So we're going to swap the stats here onto the Spider Crab. We only actually gained attack there because it already had 5 health. And I actually missed out the Mole in the shop there. I'm not sure if that was deliberate. Maybe I was waiting to get a different stage. It's nice to see Game Ninja playing again. Game Ninja, I guess for a while, must have taken a break. But now I see them in the arena all the time, and they often have very clever teams. So we get incredibly lucky in this turn. The Stoat Cell produces another Mantis, level 2. And then we also get Bilby. So Bilby level 3, I actually didn't want level 3 here. I wanted the level 2.66 so that we could then reset the triggers with Gingerbread. But in the end, it works out okay in this particular game. Having the 3 triggers is going to allow the Mole to resummon. I think, is it twice in battle? I can't remember, but to be honest, you don't really need Mole to be summoning, 5 times in one battle for it to be solid. And we win that one. Now, of course, the Bilby triggers haven't been wasted in that particular round, but this time they will be. So here we go. The Mantis gains Garlic, and the Mole consumes the 2 perks of the nearby units, and then the Bilby replaces them. And then the Cardinal, I'm not sure the Cardinal is even really needed here, but it does allow us to farm cheap perks in the shop. So if we need to, we've always got the option of buying them directly. Here's opposing Mole, but I think the Garlic on the Mantis is going to serve us well. So that was the combo basically working exactly as intended. The Garlic doesn't get removed after 1 hit. Of course it can still get removed by ailments and so on, but we also, with the Cardinal regenerating the Blackberry, allows us to get a bit of scaling as well. And here I'm obviously thinking, I'm rethinking the order. Maybe I was thinking about taking Elephant Seal instead of the Cardinal. I'm not sure. Obviously Bilby cannot regenerate its own perk. So actually having the Mole remove the Bilby perk in the shop avoids us wasting one of the triggers. So maybe that was the reasoning there. I'm not sure. This run is actually not that old, but I still kind of don't really remember exactly what happens. So now we've got level 2 Mole. It's actually going to summon as a 12-12, which is obviously a very nice improvement. And the Cardinal is going to let us keep regenerating the pie so that the ability stats are actually a bit better in battle. Clearly rethinking the ordering here again. Not sure it's actually necessary. We're actually down to 1 heart already, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. We got level 2 Mantis so quickly. But now the team is really starting to, work at full efficiency. We're getting a lot of 12-12 summons. Now, one of the mistakes I made in the previous turn, I didn't mention it at the time, is that I should not have bought the mole. So the mole was up to level 2.33 there. And when it gets knocked out, it doesn't come back with that extra experience. So really you just need to freeze the chocolate and moles in the shop until you're able to go straight to the level 3. But here we go, working as intended. We get a bunch of mole resummons. Actually, that's 2 battles in a row where we didn't lose any units except the mole. So mole gets knocked out, comes back to life as a 12-12, and then we can rebuy the pie for the Bilby. And then, we'll keep the mole frozen. Now, I'm not sure if I actually had chocolate in this pack. There were a couple of games I played of this where I didn't have chocolate and I forgot about it. Sometimes that happens if I'm playing like a concept pack or something and then I modify it. So there definitely have been some games recently that have been ruined by not having chocolate in the pack and then rolling all my gold away trying to find it. But here's another battle where, almost the entire battle was just moles fighting the opponent. So although we're on 1 heart, we're just racking up the wins now. Admittedly, the only unit scaling on our team is the Mantis, but oftentimes that is good enough. I think there I probably should have just taken, there we go. You can see it there. I just checked the pack. I didn't have chocolate in the pack. So the odds of finding 3 moles in the pet shop are pretty low. But this was actually funny here. We face an iguana team, and I was kind of shocked that the mole got sniped by the iguana, but it's because they had Kiwano on it. So always nice to see people using these lesser used perks. I think at this point we can probably give up on the idea of finding 2 more moles, but there's not really a whole lot else for us to buy. Might as well take eggplant on the mole. It doesn't matter if it's on the mole or the Bilby, it's going to get removed next turn anyway. And then we mess up Notorious here with the fun setup with the Locust. So the Seagull ends up getting all the feeds instead of the Locust. I'm pretty sure that team probably would have won. Turn 14, 9 trophies, 3 hearts. I'm sure that went on to be a win. And now the Mantis hits 50-50, another mole comes back. So really we just need some kind of perk to buy for the mole and hope that the 50-50 with garlic survives. And there's pancakes, that might as well do. And then feed up the spider crab to try and make sure that it stays alive. And it's a full scaling team with no abilities to speak of. So we're pretty confident when we see that we're going to get the win here. But it's actually a 1 HP scrape. So maybe a little bit too cocky there. But yeah, I think if we had the level 3 mole, that would have been absolute child's play. And then here's some other clips from the same recording session. Here's one where in the final battle, I get matched up with opposing mole. And it's actually a pretty fun team where they've got the alternatives to Bilby. We've got the Yeti crab and then Betta fish as well. And their mole team ended up just being a bit better than mine. And then we'll have another look at a different game. I think this one, I got the setup going a bit too late. So you can see the Mantis is actually very weak here. But we do have level 3 mole, which resummons as an 18-18. And then the spider crab trigger is still available because the Mantis was one shot. So the mole actually gets moved to the back. Yeah, so there are quite a few games like this where the Mantis just didn't get big enough, quick enough, which really does put a dampener on this type of setup. I suppose, obviously you could put pepper or melon on the Mantis to increase the chances that it survives, but if you do that, then the perk goes away, and so you won't get any mole resummons anyway. Or at least the Bilby will use up its trigger on the Mantis. But yeah, same thing happens here. Mole gets moved to the back and the whole setup is ruined. Probably makes more sense to take pancakes at this point instead of garlic on units that are so small. Not looking good here again. Yeah, there are a lot of units like a lot of teams like this I've been noticing recently, where it's one big unit with Snake behind. That would be an interesting conversation to have. Like, what's the easiest build to win in Arena? Because you have to think that something like that has a better chance of winning than just pure stats. I don't know. But yeah, turn 15, Mantis only being an 18-19 is pretty poor. So we really need to summon an opponent. And this isn't going to do it because it's a massive hippo. Although I feel like the mole is going to actually break through here. Yep. Unfortunately, it's 4th position Scorpion. So down to 1 heart. I think the fact that I got the level 3 mole on this one made it feel like I was jinxing the run. You might as well take the garlic on the mole because the game's going to be over pretty much no matter what here. And it's actually a team where the Mantis is not going to get knocked out by the first unit. Nice to see someone playing Hermit Crab. Hermit Crab actually turns into a wolf. And the doggo is going to turn into something as well. But we're out of mole summons now. And yeah, thankfully it turns into Patagonian Mara, which cannot summon another doggo, even though the doggo transformed. And against all odds, the level 1 Mantis team wins with the level 3 mole on turn 16.